village. The like have you gathered with a shrewd hand from my people, who have slept with your gods, and who now have nothing save large heads and weak knees and a thirst for cold water that they cannot quench. This is not good, and my voice has power among them. So it were well that we trade, you and I, even as you have traded with them, for molasses and flour." And I made answer, "This be good talk, and wisdom abideth in thy mouth. We will trade. For this much of flour and molasses givest thou me the caddy of Star and the 2 buckets of smoking." And Moosu groaned, and when the trade was made and the shaman departed, he upbraided me. "Now because of thy madness are we indeed lost. Neewak maketh hooch on his own account, and when the time is ripe he will command the people to drink of no hooch but his hooch. And in this way are we undone, and our goods worthless, and our igloo mean, and the bed of Moosu cold and empty." And I answered, "By the body of the wolf say I, thou art a fool, and thy father before thee, and thy children after thee down to the last generation. Thy wisdom is worse than no wisdom, and thy eyes blinded to business, of which I have spoken, and whereof thou knowst nothing. Go thou, son of 1,000 fools, and drink of the hooch that Neewak brews in his igloo, and thank thy gods that thou hast a white man's wisdom to make soft the bed thou liest in. Go, and when thou hast drunken, return with the taste still on thy lips, that I may know." And 2 days after, Neewak sent greeting and invitation to his igloo. Moosu went, but I sat alone with the song of the still in my ears, and the air thick with the shaman's tobacco, for trade was slack that night, and no one dropped in but Anjeet, a young hunter that had faith in me. Later Moosu came back, his speech thick with chuckling, and his eyes wrinkling with laughter. "Thou art a great man," he said. "Thou art a great man, O master, and because of thy greatness thou wilt not condemn Moosu thy servant, who oft times doubts and cannot be made to understand." "And wherefore now?" I demanded. "Hast thou drank overmuch, and are they sleeping sound in the igloo of Neewak the shaman?" "Nay, they are angered and sore of body, and Chief Tummasook has thrust his thumbs in the throat of Neewak, and sworn by the bones of his ancestors to look upon his face no more. For behold, I went to the igloo, and the brew simmered and bubbled, and the steam journeyed through the gooseneck even as thy steam, and even as thine it became water where it met the ice, and dropped into the pot at the far end, and Neewak gave us to drink, and lo, it was not like thine, for there was no bite to the tongue, nor tingling to the eyeballs, and of a truth it was water. So we drank overmuch. Yet did we sit with cold hearts and solemn, and Neewak was perplexed, and a cloud came on his brow. And he took Tummasook and Ipsukuk alone of all the company, and set them apart, and bade them drink and drink and drink. And they drank and drank and drank, and yet sat solemn and cold, till Tummasook arose in wrath and demanded back the furs and the tea he had paid, and Ipsukuk raised her voice, thin and angry, and the company demanded back what they had given, and there was a great commotion. "Does the son of a dog deem me a whale?" demanded Tummasook, shoving back the skin flap and standing erect, his face black and his brows angry. "Wherefore I am filled like a fish bladder to bursting, till I can scarce walk. What of the weight within me? La, la! I have drunken as never before, yet are my eyes clear, my knees strong, my hand steady. The shaman cannot send us to sleep with the gods," the people complained, stringing in and joining us, "and only in thy igloo may the thing be done." So I laughed to myself as I passed the hooch around, and the guests made merry. For in the flour I had traded to Neewak I had mixed much soda that I had got from the woman Ipsukuk. So how could his brew ferment when the soda kept it sweet, or his hooch be hooch when it would not sour? After that our wealth flowed in without let or hindrance. Furs we had without number, and the fancy work of the women, all of the chief's tea, and no end of meat. One day Moosu retold for my benefit, and sadly mangled, the story of Joseph in Egypt, but from it I got an idea, and soon I had half the tribe at work building me great meat caches, and of all they hunted I got the lion's share and stored it away. Nor was Moosu idle. He made himself a pack of cards from birch bark, and taught Neewak the way to play 7-up. He also inveigled the father of Tukaliketa into the game. And one day he married the maiden, and the next day he moved into the shaman's house, which was the finest in the village. The fall of Neewak was complete, for he lost all his possessions, his walrus hide drums, his incantation tools, everything. And in the end he became a hewer of wood and drawer of water at the beck and call of Moosu. And Moosu, he set himself up as shaman, or high priest, and out of his garbled scripture created new gods and made incantation before strange altars. And I was well pleased, for I thought it good that church and state go hand in hand, and I had certain plans of my own concerning the state. Events were shaping as I had foreseen. Good temper and smiling faces had vanished from the village. The people were morose and sullen. There were quarrels and fighting, and things were in an uproar night and day. Moosu's cards were duplicated, and the hunters fell to gambling among themselves. Tummasook beat his wife horribly, and his mother's brother objected, and smote him with a tusk of walrus till he cried aloud in the night, and was shamed before the people. Also, amid such diversions no hunting was done, and famine fell upon the land. The nights were long and dark, and without meat no hooch could be bought, so they murmured against the chief. This I had played for, and when they were well and hungry, I summoned the whole village, made a great harangue, posed as patriarch, and fed the famishing. Moosu made harangue likewise, and because of this and the thing I had done, I was made chief. Moosu, who had the ear of God and decreed his judgments, anointed me with whale blubber, and right blubberly he did it, not understanding the ceremony. And between us we interpreted to the people the new theory of the divine right of kings. There was hooch galore and meat and feastings, and they took kindly to the new order. So you see, O man, I have sat in the high places and worn the purple and ruled populations, and I might yet be a king had the tobacco held out, or had Moosu been more fool and less knave. For he cast eyes upon Isanetuk, eldest daughter to Tummasook, and I objected. "O brother," he explained, "thou hast seen fit to speak of introducing new institutions amongst this people, and I have listened to thy words and gained wisdom thereby. Thou rulest by the God-given right, and by the God-given right I marry." I noted that he brothered me, and was angry and put my foot down. But he fell back upon the people and made incantations for 3 days, in which all hands joined, and then, speaking with the voice of God, he decreed polygamy by divine fiat. But he was shrewd, for he limited the number of wives by a property qualification, and because of which he, above all men, was favored by his wealth. Nor could I fail to admire, though it was plain that power had turned his head, and he would not be satisfied till all the power and all the wealth rested in his own hands. So he became swollen with pride, forgot it was I that had placed him there, and made preparations to destroy me. But it was interesting, for the beggar was working out his own way an evolution